hidden within the arid vastness of the Taklamakan Desert, and nestled between the Kunlun Mountains and the shifting sands of the Tarim Basin, the ancient kingdom of Khotan thrived as one of the Silk Road's most luminous gems. From as early as the 4th century BCE until its eventual fall in 1006 AD, Khotan stood not only as a crucial trade hub, but also as a beacon of Buddhist culture, artistic ingenuity, and spiritual transmission between East and West. Its strategic location in what is now Xinjiang China made it an indispensable oasis along the southern Silk Road, connecting the great civilizations of China, India, Persia, and beyond. While trade brought wealth and prosperity, it also brought the attention of greater empires and nomadic powers, each of which eyed the kingdom's treasures, both material and spiritual, with envy. The fall of Khotan was not merely the end of a political state. It was the eclipse of a unique cultural amalgam, born of desert isolation and enriched by centuries of transcontinental dialogue. Khotan's origins are steeped in both history and legend. According to Chinese and Tibetan accounts, the kingdom was founded by Indian and Chinese exiles, creating a hybrid population that reflected the best of both worlds. The Indian influence was especially pronounced in the introduction of Buddhism, which took firm root in Khotan earlier than in many other Central Asian regions. Archaeological findings from sites like Dunhuang, Nia, and Endere reveal a society heavily influenced by Buddhist teachings, with murals, manuscripts, and sculptures that depict Jataka tales, bodhisattvas, and monastic life. The Khotanese script, based on the Iranian Saka language and written in Brahmi, and the preservation of Sanskrit texts underscore the cosmopolitan nature of this kingdom. It was not simply a passive recipient of foreign ideas, but an active crucible where Chinese, Indian, Persian, and local cultures fused, giving rise to a uniquely Khotanese expression of Buddhism that resonated across the Silk Road. Economically, Khotan owed its prosperity to three primary commodities: jade, silk, and carpets. Jade, especially white nephrite, was considered sacred in ancient China and was used in everything from ceremonial implements to royal ornaments. Khotan's jade, sourced from the nearby Urungkash and Karakash rivers, was among the most prized in the Chinese imperial courts. For centuries, caravans laden with blocks of glistening stone crossed treacherous terrains to reach China, where jade was believed to embody purity, immortality, and virtue. Silk production in Khotan, according to Chinese legend, began when a Chinese princess smuggled silkworm eggs into the kingdom in her headdress, thereby establishing one of the earliest silk industries outside of China. These silks, often embroidered with Buddhist motifs, were highly coveted in the markets of Samarkand, Baghdad, and Constantinople. Khotanese carpets, meanwhile, with their intricate knotting and vibrant dyes, adorned the halls of kings and the sanctums of monasteries across Central Asia. Such wealth inevitably brought both admiration and peril. Khotan's strategic importance placed it at the mercy of greater empires and shifting regional powers. The Han Dynasty recognized the kingdom's value early on, and by the 1st century CE, Khotan had become a tributary state, sending embassies and goods to the imperial court. This arrangement allowed Khotan to retain a degree of autonomy while benefiting from the security and economic integration provided by the Chinese world order. However, with the decline of Han power, Khotan found itself vulnerable to attacks from Tibetan forces and incursions by nomadic groups like the Xiongnu and later the Turks. Despite these challenges, the kingdom maintained its identity and even experienced a cultural renaissance during the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907, when it was effectively under Chinese suzerainty. During this time, the kingdom became a vital conduit for the transmission of Buddhism into China, and its monasteries flourished with support from both Khotanese kings and Chinese patrons. Pilgrims like Xuanzang and Faxian, documented the splendor of Khotan's religious institutions, remarking on their devotion, size, and scholarly output. Yet even as Khotan reached its cultural zenith, the sands of time were shifting beneath its feet. By the 9th century, the geopolitical landscape of Central Asia had undergone seismic transformations. The Tang Dynasty had begun to weaken, and the Tibetan Empire, once dominant in the region, had fragmented into smaller polities. Into this power vacuum stepped a new force, the Karacanids, a Turkic Muslim dynasty that had converted to Islam and sought to expand their dominion westward and eastward. Their rise marked a turning point not just in military terms, but in the religious identity of Central Asia. The Kara-Khanids viewed the Buddhist polities like Khotan as relics of a bygone era, foreign in culture and idolatrous in faith. As Islamic fervor merged with Turkic ambition, the independent Buddhist kingdoms of the Tarim Basin were placed on a collision course with a new ideological and political force. The final blow came in the year 1006 AD, when the Karakhanid ruler Yusuf Qadir Khan launched a full-scale invasion of Khotan. Despite its wealth, Khotan's military capabilities were modest, and its mountainous isolation, once a source of protection, now became a liability. The Karakhanid army descended upon the oasis with a mix of religious zeal and imperial intent. The conquest was swift and devastating. Temples and monasteries were looted or razed, sacred texts burned or lost, and the Buddhist clergy either killed or exiled. The once vibrant cities fell silent, their marketplaces emptied, and their scholars scattered. The fall of Khotan did not merely signify a military defeat, it represented a civilizational shift. The ancient Buddhist heritage of the region was gradually replaced by Islamic institutions, Turkic language, and new patterns of settlement and governance. Over the centuries, the memory of Khotan faded from popular consciousness, preserved only in ruins, scattered manuscripts, and the occasional reference in Chinese, Tibetan, or Persian texts. Despite its tragic end, the legacy of Khotan persists. Archaeological excavations throughout the 20th and 21st centuries have unearthed a treasure trove of artifacts. Manuscripts written in Khotanese and Sanskrit, wall paintings depicting elaborate Buddhist cosmologies, and everyday items that speak to the kingdom's complex social fabric. The British explorer Sir Aurel Stein was among the first to bring global attention to Khotan's ruins, recovering texts and relics that now reside in museums across Europe and Asia. These discoveries have allowed historians and linguists to reconstruct aspects of Khotanese culture, economy, and religion, revealing a society that was remarkably sophisticated and deeply interconnected with the broader ancient world. Furthermore, the story of Khotan serves as a poignant reminder of the fragile balance between trade and tradition, prosperity and peril, and how the forces of ideology and empire can reshape entire civilizations. In today's geopolitical landscape, the region of Khotan, now known as Khotan in China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, remains a contested and complex space. Its demographic and religious transformation, initiated by the Kara-Khanid conquest over a millennium ago, continues to evolve. But beneath the layers of modernity and conflict lies a rich historical tapestry that still whispers through the sands. Khotan's jade rivers still flow, its silk traditions echo in textile workshops, and its name, though often forgotten, lives on in the chronicles of those who study the rise and fall of civilizations. The desert kingdom may have been lost, but its story remains one of endurance, brilliance, and the inexorable tides of history.